everyone, here we are at Le Mans in the Porsche 963 GTP. We're going to be doing our best today, even though we're starting in the mid-pack, and I've not done a lot of practice for this one. That's really hurt our qualifying performance, so we're going to be starting in P9, making it quite a challenge if we want to gain some IR and get back up to 3K. Starting out from the Ford chicane, we already have a car going sideways in front of us. Looks like they're holding the brakes, so we just go far to the left-hand side to avoid them. And looks like they've managed to get away with it, but that just goes to show you how easy it is on the cold tyres, and for the fact we're all running such a low downforce here, trying to eke out as much speed as possible on the Mulsanne straight. We have Daniel in front of us losing a position to that Cadillac here. Very much struggling on this opening lap with the cold tyres. The Porsche normally quite good, but with the setups we're running, it seems it's a lot more difficult with this car. My setup especially is very twitchy on the cold tyres, so I'm having a big lift there over the crest. And as we come up to Tetra Rouge, I'm just being very careful here because I don't want to get that nasty slowdown. I also don't want to spin the car getting on the power because it's so easy to do so, even with that little bit of downforce. Now we are right behind Daniel, and we are now losing time to the cars in front of us. I do feel at this stage I could be a bit quicker than they are, so I am going to show my nose, go down the inside into the first chicane here. I'm going to see how Daniel responds. He's going to match us under braking at the first stage. He looks like he backs out at the second apex, so I just now need to get on the power and get a good exit here. I have a big twitch just with the cold tyres, not quite agreeing with what I'm trying to do there. That's cost us a little bit of our exit momentum. We now have Jort right behind us in another Porsche. Going to watch and see what he does, and he's going to force their way to the outside. I don't really appreciate the move, but I can't really do much at this stage. I'm just going to brake a little bit early on the cold tyres, and as expected, Jort goes very deep there, missing the chicane. Watching now for his re-entry, and he's over on the far right hand side, serving a slowdown for cutting the chicane, so we're going to get the position back there. But that's cost us even more time to the cars in front, and that's cost me the slipstream that I would have needed to defend quite easily here. So I'm now at the head of a train of cars. I'm going to have to work really hard and not make any mistakes as we come to the end of the Mulsanne straight, which took in quite nicely, being careful on the cold brakes, which are just as easy to lock up as the cold tyres. We managed to get a good enough exit there to maintain the distance to Daniel behind us. We do have Jort probably at the back of this train now after serving that slowdown. I'm watching the two cars ahead of us having a little bit of a race, hoping that they might have an incident, as bad as it sounds, because that's going to be the only real way we can try and keep up with them at this stage. Into Indianapolis, I brake a little bit early on the cold tyres, and Daniel actually gets a very good run on us there into the second part. I have to leave him the space, and now I have to go into the middle here to defend against that Cadillac. Daniel locks up in front of us, and we have contact from the rear, which looks like there's a big incident behind us as well from that. But at least we made it through without any damage to the car, though that Constantina effect was very dangerous for us. And that's not going to be over yet, because we are coming up towards the Porsche curves for the first time, and we are still on very cold tyres, so I'm going to have to be careful through here. This is going to be very much feeling how the car's reacting, because the car is going to want to understeer wide with no temperature and very little downforce in terms of GTPs. But we're nursing it through here, just letting the car settle between all these changes of direction before getting on the power. There's a nasty slowdown if you go wide there at that last corner. We've made it through, and we've maintained a good gap to Daniel behind us. And we just come into the Ford chicane now. I'm quite confident through here. It's a good sequence of corners. I go a little bit wide of this second part here, just a little bit too quick on those cold tyres. But we've maintained the distance, and we've kept it in one piece. So we review now the incidents from the first lap, and this was P4, a very unlucky start for all of them. At least they did the sensible thing here and held their brakes, which allowed everyone to get past without any further incident, and it means that they can continue at least. This was the very daring move though that did upset me a little bit, because there was not really a gap there and I had to move over to facilitate him. And as expected, that aggression led into their braking as well, letting them go too deep over the sand. We rejoin onto lap 2, and this is going to be my first mistake at the end of the Mulsanne straight, just out-braking myself on the cold brakes and tyres. We're going to see Daniel coming from quite far back here, using the momentum and getting past me to retake the position here. It looks like we're still very much in for a battle here. I've not been able to break the toe, even though I had that gap almost in hand. So now I've got to work for it again and get ahead of Daniel. I'm going to play it smart because I have just cooked my tyres, and Indianapolis is still a tricky section on this second lap. Now, I don't want to make any more mistakes. So I'm going to brake a little bit early, go a bit slower here, give the tyres time to load up whilst they're still struggling from that incident. And Daniel is going to get it right this time through our nage, but we have lost some time. That's brought Jort and his friend up behind us. We maintain the distance with Daniel though coming into the Ford chicane at the end of the lap. And looks like he's struggling a little bit here because we're going to close up right beneath his wing. I have to back out a little bit on getting on the power there, but we are still right behind him onto the third lap of the race. Now I'm going to be thinking ahead. I want to make sure I'm close enough to Daniel here as we come onto the Mulsanne straight so I can use that slipstream. So coming through the Dunlop chicane now I can carry a lot more speed. It looks like Daniel is a lot better through there as well now, so we are matching each other's pace. I just need to make sure I don't make any mistakes here through the S's. It is still quite challenging and I have to have a lift coming over that crest there just because the car goes so light. But into Tetra Rouge, the car's nose just points precisely where I need it so I can get on the power. We are still tucked firmly into that slipstream of Daniel ahead of us. And we've managed to pull enough of a gap from Jort behind, so I don't have to worry about them at this stage. I can just focus on getting past Daniel into the first chicane here. I'm going to wait for the last possible second and then move out and show my nose, make it clear that we're going for the move here. Daniel responds by backing out, so now all I have to do is make sure I absolutely nail this chicane and get a great exit, and that gives us enough of a gap for now at least. Behind us at the end of the Mulsanne straight, Jort did catch up and he made this little cheeky move down the inside of Daniel. However, they're going to come together at the end and that's going to cost them a lot of the momentum. We rejoin onto lap 5. I managed to get a good gap to them behind us. However, we are about to have the first incident from that group that managed to pull away from us earlier in the race. Watching car 5 here lose the rear end coming through our nage. Looks like they are able to get going again. So as we come round our nage ourselves, we can see that BMW slowly getting back up to speed. We're able to get past him without any issue. However, Jort is not quite there behind them, so we're going to see how they get past. Are they going to get through before Porsche? They are alongside now. They're going to have the better line into the Porsche curves. And looks like the BMW backs out just as they reach the apex there, so Jort is able to get the position as well. That's put us both up one place and we're able to maintain the distance to them to lap 6, but now this is where the strategy comes in. We have the first of the GT3 cars in front of us, so we're actually going to go into the pits here because we want to avoid that GT3 traffic. A few brave souls are going to stay out though, so we're going to see how that works for them in the long run, but we are into the pits here now. I'm going to see if we can make sure we nail our stop and get away as fast as possible. So with our pit stop done, we're going to emerge now, and it's going to be a case of seeing how many cars have tried for the overcut. It is a risky strategy because the GT3 traffic, whilst not terrible around Le Mans, there are some places where you can get absolutely trapped behind them with nothing you can do. So we're going to have to see how that will work out for them. And at the end of our outlap, we hadn't had too many issues, but we were going to run into this case I just talked about here, into the Ford chicane, stuck behind this McLaren. And you can see Jort, who came at a distance behind us, is now suddenly able to claw all that time back to us. And he's now right behind us now as we start this next lap. And we can see the first of the cars that tried to pit in front of us are now starting to emerge. We've actually got that Cadillac hidden just behind the wiper blade. That is Jeremy Lewis emerging in front of us. He had been a few positions behind, so he's certainly made that overcut work well for him there. But we are emerging into the GT3 traffic. We cannot escape it at this stage. We're just going to try and make our way through it as best as possible. Jeremy's going to get the good run here through the S's, and I'm going to get stuck behind this McLaren for but a moment here. But now I'm going to get a good run on the exit. I've got to go down the inside into Tetra Rouge, making sure I still nail my braking because I don't want to run wide and get that slowdown. We managed to get a little bit of distance to Jort behind us and just about keep with Jeremy, which is what we need if you want to stay in the battle for P6. But at the end of the Mulsanne straight here, we can see Jort is going to make a big mistake going into the gravel there, and that's going to lose all the momentum and give us a big gap to him behind us. Now, onto lap 8. We managed to catch up to Jeremy, helped a little bit by GT3 traffic like this that we're facing at the moment. I'm going to time going down the outside here because I want to get around that McLaren. Especially helps whilst that Ford is holding up Jeremy in front of us. I'm just going to time getting on the power, and we're going to go alongside the Mustang. Yeah, make sure I give him plenty of space on the outside. Looks like Jeremy's certainly feeling my presence here, trying to look to defend to the inside. I'm not going to make the move though into the Ford chicane here. It's a very difficult place to make any sort of move stick. I'd rather at this stage of the race, whilst we still have quite a few laps left, just keep with Jeremy and apply the pressure, really twist his arm here, because he has a good chance of making a mistake, though he has already done really well, and I make a bit of an error there, misjudging where that GT3 was going to go. We're able to just get past him without any issue there, but that did cost us a temp, which I can't afford to lose, so I do need to stay with Jeremy as we get onto the Mulsanne straight to make sure I can get that slipstream and keep with him and keep applying the pressure, though he has done really well so far to fend me off. I have to make sure I'm going to be there if an opportunity arises. Now onto the Mulsanne straight, a nice exit from Tetraroos. We are 6 tenths behind him, and we're going to get an example here of just how strong the slipstream is. These cars are pretty evenly matched, but you can see the difference now. We're down to 4 tenths with Jeremy just ahead of us here. I'm certainly not going to be close enough to make the move. I don't want to do so at this early stage anyway. I just want to make sure I'm going to stay with him, so time the braking, get to that first apex, and then go over the curb and then get on the power. I have to be careful. This setup really does not like the curbing. Lifting that one wheel really unsettles the car. Now Jeremy is going to try and deny the slipstream, which I'm okay with at this stage. I don't want to be too close to him. We are at least 2 tenths behind him here. That's a good enough gap for me to maintain. I just need to keep with it and keep consistent. Into the second chicane once again, braking a little bit early, making sure I'm getting to my apexes. I do miss that second one, but I just carry the speed instead. Again, I have to be careful on the exit of that curbing. It's so easy to unsettle the car going over there. And again here on the straight, Jeremy tries to break the slipstream, and I have to actually be careful because the car is so low. There is resistance going over the crown, the middle part of the track there. Now at the end of the Mulsanne, getting on the brakes, turned in, getting it nicely through the apex there and on the power. The Cadillac is actually very good on getting on the power out of there. That is its one big benefit over the Porsche. And I've just got to try and keep with him here on the run up to Indianapolis. Once again, not wanting to take the slipstream from him, knowing that I can keep the distance myself without getting too close to him and not really needing to save any fuel at this stage of the race. Very clean through Indianapolis, making sure I get slowed up for that second section. Now I could probably be quicker with more time and practice, but for now I'm just trying to keep it nice and safe because I can't afford a mistake at this stage of the race. We're still tucked in nicely though behind Jeremy. He just can't break us from behind him. I want him to keep feeling that pressure here. Now the Porsche curves will be a little bit more challenging with the downwash from being so close to Jeremy, so I'm going to have a bigger lift, which might give him more of a time. But he actually takes a different line there, which works in my favour. The car doesn't really understeer as much. I'm still being very cautious here because I know that if Jeremy makes a mistake, I do not want to get caught up in it. And there are faster parts of the track where I can make that time up again. Again, I've also got to watch out for that nasty slowdown on that last left-hand corner. We just about avoided it there because any further to the right, we would have had at least a 2-second slowdown. Into the Ford chicane, I can seem to carry a lot more speed than Jeremy through there. Really slowed up through that second section, so I'll keep that in mind if it comes down to that stage of the race. But at least for now, I'm just going to settle in myself and not overcomplicate things, because this is a mind game of me putting pressure onto Jeremy, but I have to make sure I don't do the same to myself in trying to keep up with him. So I just want to take it nice and easy at this point. So we do have a good gap to jump behind us, and the cars in front have still managed to keep a big enough gap where they're not going to be in any sort of danger. Now over the crest once again, you can see I still have to have a lift there, which is costing me time, but at least from Tetra Rouge I seem to be that little bit more pointy, which lets me get on the power sooner and allows me to really keep up with Jeremy coming onto the Mulsanne straight. And you can see the slipstream once again coming into effect here. Jeremy isn't weaving as much, he's just simply moving over to the right hand side. I'm going to see if I can hold him there just to put that bit more pressure on, but he actually moves back over to the left. I'm not really going to commit to the move here. I just want to see if I can force a mistake from him so I get my braking point, make sure I get to the apex and leave the space. And Jeremy just goes around the outside. And I'm not helped by having that little bit of a moment there on the exit with the curbing. So with that, it's on to lap 11 now. I've just been keeping up with Jeremy for the course of the lap whilst trying to not overcook the car myself. So I know into these last few laps, this is going to be the best time for me to try and make the move and then get away from Jeremy to give him as little chance as possible to come back at us. So now I'm going to really dial in, trying to get as close as possible when we come through Tetra Rouge. Coming through the S's here, you can see just how fast the Cadillac is. It's a lot more planted than the Porsche. I'm hoping I can get a same good exit through Tetra Rouge, but instead I got very wide there, collect the 1X and nearly get the slowdown. We've lost a lot of momentum there to Jeremy ahead of us, but importantly we've kept the slipstream, so we will be able to catch up with him. And by the time we got to the Porsche curves, we were right back with Jeremy here. We've been driving exceptionally at this stage, considering that I've been putting all this pressure on him. He's done really well to keep the car in one piece. And now it's still up to me to just keep with him here and maintain a safe distance and manage the fact we are having a lot more understeer in the dirty air, so I'm having to make sure that the nose of the car is turned in properly before getting on the power. We seem to be doing a lot better though than what Jeremy's having in front, as he's struggled a little bit through that last corner, which has let us really close up. I do have to back off because I know he's going to be slower through the Ford chicane. We can see there's a car, lots of smoke in front of us there. Looks like someone's gone off, but they managed to keep going. We had a little knock of ourselves there, which cost us some time on the exit. But it looks like we might actually be able to have a chance for P5 if they keep making more mistakes in front of us. But now, though, the battle is still very much between me and Jeremy. The time is going to be starting to run out here. We are on to lap 12 now. And we have about 2 more laps to go here, so if I'm going to make the move, it has to be now or never. And we're now right up behind him once more, so this is going to be a great opportunity if I can keep this distance coming onto the Mulsanne. I'm giving it everything possible now, though. I'm just about keeping with him as we're coming into Tetra Rouge. This time I've got to make sure I don't make that same mistake as last time, and we've made it straight onto the Mulsanne straight with no issues this time. Jeremy's definitely feeling the pressure this time, because you can see he's trying to break the toe nice and early here. Make sure we're not going to be close enough into the first chicane, which we're not going to be. But if I can hang with him, we are going to have opportunities into the second chicane or the end of the Mulsanne straight here. But for now, I'm just going to hold position and follow him through this first chicane, making sure I'm going to make both apexes and carry all the momentum to match him. You can actually see Jeremy has gone wide there, which has compromised his exit speed. And that's going to bring us even closer now. So it looks like we are very much on for a move. And Jeremy's definitely feeling the same here, because he's weaving left to right before he finally settles on the inside line. So I'm just going to keep with him until the very last second and pull to the outside. Try and hold him there using the road markings as my guide. There's a little bit of contact into the braking zone. I just make sure I get stopped as much as possible. You can see Jeremy's gone very wide and deep. He's over the exit curbing there, and that actually gets him a slowdown for his troubles. There was some very close, dangerous racing between us there, especially into the braking zone. The Cadillac's speed was actually very apparent here, because you're going to see as I pull out here, the Cadillac actually starts gaining on us once again, which is why he thinks he can try and cover me off. But that netco contact seems to have thrown him off as he braked way too late and sent him deep into the chicane, ultimately giving us the position and the slowdown helping us to hold it, which means that by the end of the last lap we're actually up into P5, having held off Jeremy and gaining a position because the car in front of us crashed into Indianapolis. That puts us up 4 positions from where we started, meaning we are going to cross the line in P5.
2 litres remain.
That's a great little finish for us in both SR and IR, even with 7 incident points. So that brings us a little bit closer to 3K. And we had some great battles with both Joe and Jeremy, both being very respectful in how they battled us. Ultimately, we were able to triumph. So with that, that is the end of today's race. I hope you have all enjoyed it. If you did, please have a look at some of the other races on my channel, and I hope to see you all again next time.